We're here with Lip Comarella. Is that how you pronounce it? Or is it Comarella?
Yeah, that was
I like that.
that's closer.
From Bolzano, Italy. But it said on your Facebook that you're living in Vienna, but you're in New York now, right?
Yes, I've been living in Vienna for a decade, I would say.
And co-founder of Studio Alpine, director at Passion Pictures, co-production designer at Netflix, which is your new thing, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Are
That's
you
why I'm
still a
here.
lecturer at Universität für Angewandte Kunst?
Well, technically, yes. I haven't been for those reasons, for like virus-related reasons and whatnot. But
Yeah.
yeah, technically, yes.
And winner of the Annie Award for excellence in animation. That was
Yeah,
with what studio was that with?
that's well, it's for the work I've done over at Passion Pictures for best commercials, because it was for the Greenpeace commercial we did over there. And the Annie Award is like any awards are just what probably there's nothing to brag about yet. The Annie Award is a specific animation centric award, like in Los Angeles, where if anything, it means quite something because it's reviewed by the peers. Like it's totally stacked with the major studios of the American scene. So I was flattered by that one. So I'm happy that worked out. It's like the Oscar for strictly animation.
Yeah. And Sauna Lover.
Yes, like I
Have you?
forget the rest. This is only what you need to remember. All that matters.
My first experience with sauna was my wife and I went up to Finland on the border of Russia, and
That's how I
they
do
had a
it.
wood burning sauna, and they had a hole in the ice. And
Mm,
yeah, we just did the sauna and then just dipped our body totally up to our necks in ice water.
that's how you do it. That's
Yeah,
how you should do it.
yeah, it was an incredible feeling. And actually, I found one that's really close to my apartment. We have a Finnish sauna here in Prague, right down the street.
Yeah, do it. It can only help you. You're gonna live longer, I promise.
Yeah.
It's always
So,
promise.
for people who are listening, I contacted Lip because I am a full-time caricature artist and I make 95% of my income from live caricatures, as you can probably guess that that's not happening anymore. And I've been wanting to move into a more, for lack of a better word, lucrative career, or more, let's say, like an industry career, and use my art skills there. Um, so I guess the first question is, did you have a chance to look at any of the stuff that I sent you?
I did. I did. I'm having it in front of me right now. In fact,
Okay. Um, so yeah, this is kind of like a hybrid conversation, because really I contacted you because I was really inspired by your lecture at Euroculture a couple years ago, and
hmm
I was really inspired by your work and what you were doing. I think at that time you were at Studio Alpine, or you were
yeah,
presenting a lot of work.
it's yeah. I mean, Studio Salon Alpine is basically just a company I formed just coming out of school with my friend Simon Greaser, which is still continuing on um, that project or that company for that matter. So it's our own brand. We have been working for different clients or different bigger studios over the last decade almost. So that's what Salon Alpine is. It's more like a band of of people trying to do good work. But yeah, it's people think it's bigger than it is, but for a reason or another. But it's basically just us two.
Well, I guess I wanted to talk to you about that as well. Like, how did that become born? Like, how did you guys get started with that?
Well, how things work. Like you meet people, you get along and decide why should I work with people I like just a bit? Why shouldn't you work with people you have a good time working with? So we have very complementary skill sets. Being I'm more the designer and he's more the animator.
Hmm.
So we thought, hey, we can make this work. We trust each other and our competences, and so it was very easy to say, let's do this. Let's try. And because I was finishing school at the university, I needed my graduation short, and he wanted an exit plan almost to exit just later for commercial. So we took the chance to make something. That's how Much Better Now was born, our short film we did back in 2010, which feels forever ago.
Yeah.
It is forever ago.
Yeah, it does feel like forever ago. Because I made that animation that I sent you in 2010, and that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah. It's astonishing how fast. Yeah, your views, skills, and tastes change. That's for sure.
So, what did you go to school for exactly? Was it like graphic design or illustration design or?
It's just advertising, which means you just get to learn about marketing and copywriting, all the sort of the less sort of elegant stuff you might think an artist should learn. Yet I don't regret it. I didn't learn anything technically or artistically, sadly, but I get the sense to understand that everything you do needs to have a goal. Like you just shouldn't do it for the sake. Just try to convey something, and because advertising is pretty much that. You have to be very clear and immediate with your message. And I think I took something from that too, even though I didn't learn how to draw.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I can relate to that totally. I actually went to fine art school, but they were really heavy on art history and concept, and not concept art for films or anything, just like what the meaning, the philosophical meaning behind the action was or behind the making of the art was. So when I left school, I was kind of like looking around with my hands out, like, wait a minute, what did I really learn here? And
Yes.
it turned out technically not much. So I really learned like most of, I mean, I'm still learning, but most of what I learned was outside of school. And actually, I learned the most when I became a caricature artist, believe it or not. A lot of people wouldn't think that, but that's where I've taken the most knowledge and been able to apply it to other things, is just from drawing caricatures and learning from the best in that way.
Yeah, I bet. When caricature, I mean, I'm not too like I've never dug deep into that sort of discipline, but it follows along the very same rules we're all using. It's about sort of simplification, clarity, and appeal. So any medium works. You have to just practice and refine your principles that way.
Yeah. So that's how you got started with Studio Alpine. And what happened with Passion Pictures? Was that something that happened as a result of your work at Studio Alpine?
Yes. So we did a series of projects as Salon Alpine, which became quite known, at least in Austria and in Germany, for a series of work that got quite some exposure. And even our film Much Better Now turned out to be quite successful on festivals, because it was a simple flawed thing, but it carried a little piece of heart. But then as it works, companies, English production companies, they who produce animation for film or advertising, they sort of add to their roster directors and artists they want to work with and sort of sell to the clients, and that happened with us. So Salon Alpine became a featured uh, director duo for their roster in a couple of years ago, and with them, they providing us with the jobs and we making them, and then it's they're very, I have only good words for them because they treat us well and or treated us well, and we're quite Arctic centric company that just wants to make excellent stuff.
Hmm. So I had a question kind of on the business side of Studio Alpine. When you got started, I mean, obviously you had some education in advertisement, but well, I'll just tell you like my approach with my business, and maybe you could find some similarities. Like basically with caricature and corporate clients and stuff, I basically make a list of clients that I want to work with. I contact them, let them know who I am, introduce myself, and then I send them a promotional package. And then if I don't hear back from them, I follow up in 3 days, sometimes a week, and make sure that they received it. So that's kind of how I actually started to build the caricature business right before the coronavirus hit.
Right.
Otherwise, it was just live stuff that I was doing in tourist attractions or whatever. But how did you go about it? Was it the same kind of way, or was it more like networking, organic through networking, or?
It's probably the long answer would be everything, but the short answer is probably as much as people tell you to do a website or what really matters nowadays, 2020 or even 2016, it's two things. Just go to the place, be in person, meet the guy, have a chat, but possibly not about work. Just have a funny conversation. Like I played that Sauna card many times because it's just something you want to have a giggle with on, and so meet that person. Just it's really about having a human connection because there are humans too, and they want to work with humans they potentially like, and nobody is unreplaceable. And then yeah, social media. It's I have nothing. Of course, it's a controversial topic, but social media gets you out. Like people are there. They're not going type in your name. They're not going to visit your website. They are there, and you need to have you need to be on there. So people, Instagram works great. Twitter works. And don't let you enslaved by that media. But if it's just a display room, it's the better we have right now. At least that's my experience.
Okay. So that's a good topic, actually, social media, because the algorithms are always changing, and there's so much out there. I think one of the issues that I have as an artist and as a creative person and someone who's hungry for information and knowledge is that there's these social media platforms, there's 20 of those. Then there's like schoolism and the New Masters Academy and like 100 different online schools that I could go to. So how do you focus, I guess? Like how do you cut out the fat and just stay kind of in your groove with social media, for example?
It's probably there's no right answer. How I go about it is just I barely read too much. Like I don't scroll too. I sometimes I would just I use it as a channel to make what I do public, and you have your circle of closer contacts. You engage and you learn from them. You learn the news from them. They learn it from you. I have not strategized it too much, honestly. I've found it that if you have a product that is at least somewhat distinct and wants to have like an honest display of how your emotion as an artist work and express themselves, people are attracted to. So I don't have a very sort of strategic answer to that. I found it just the more sincere and honest is what I like and show how excited I am about that, people will resonate with it too. And to your question about CGMA, schoolism, there are a ton of courses, and they probably all amazing. I would say none of them are wrong. What separates probably a good online tutorial or course from a not so good one is how close you get to talk to that person, because you don't want to learn just about technical stuff, because that's everywhere on YouTube on a million times. You can find it all, but you need to find somebody who can share his struggles. He can share his opinion about where you are, just be more individual, and just wants to work with you to make you grow in particular. So that's why what I like about CGMA, in my experience, because you had that sort of group call where you really had to chat and talk. While with schoolism, you do your homework, you get feedback on that, but that's it. And I found it less effective.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to cut in is and mention that you said about sharing things that you're passionate about. I was doing this challenge, a 30-day caricature challenge for comedians. So it was called April Fools, and I was posting these comedians that I was painting every day. And then at one point, I posted a painting I did of Tom York from the video No Alarms and No Surprises. And it's just...
Sorry, you're cutting off a little bit. Would you repeat the last sentence? Because I think I lost that one.
So I was doing a caricature challenge, the April Fool's challenge. Did you hear that part?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was posting just comedians every day, like drawings of comedians. And then I got really inspired by this No Alarms, No Surprises song by Radiohead, the video. And so I did a painting of that, and I posted it, and it was like immediately like 10 times more popular than all my other posts. And so I think that goes back to what you said about just sharing things that are that you're passionate about and that are inspiring.
I was saying it's always the same game about, people want to get offered something they can use, like they have a relationship to, and that tackles their desires, fears, or their tastes. So it's great to show what are you passionate about, but it's even better to share something you may have in common with them, and then that could be tips how to tackle good art habits, or just sort of a subject matter you share in common and are fan with. So I totally understand why you not just tackling something they know and they appreciate will give you another feedback.
So just a question about, I have a couple more questions just about kind of how you go about your day-to-day practice. And before I get into that, though, I just wanted to see if you had any feedback on the stuff that I sent you.
Right. Yeah, I think, I mean, technically you're pretty advanced. Like this, you know what you're doing, and your sense of color, and I feel you have even your style. You understand what you want, or there might be something to change, but statistically you're there. So technically, I would say you're great. Like you understand the rules of appeal and image making. So there's nothing bothering me there. I mean, a lot has to go with probably personal taste. If you're really fond into exaggerating features and caricature, that's your cup of tea. That's perfect.
Well, I guess I have a specific question, which is that when I think about getting into the industry, I think about telling stories and making images that tell stories, and I'm interested in that animation and like concept art. I'm particularly interested in stop motion. I really like that type of animation, but I'm not really sure where I should start. And
Yeah.
I have the skills and the determination and persistence to build a portfolio, but I'm not really sure where I should start. So to be honest with you, I'm kind of in a tailspin right now because I have a lot of time and I'm a very driven, determined person, but I don't know where to focus that energy.
Yeah. Well, if looking at what you did and what you're capable to do, I mean, caricature is I probably have no clear insight, but it's a little bit like people either they're really into it or it's like, oh, I cannot look at caricatures, understood as the sort of the street caricature, because I don't know, it's a little bit demonized for no reason,
Hmm.
uh, because it's I don't know, it by some hypocrites just to judged as sort of one of the minor arts. Necessarily the case. If I had to make myself a portfolio, it's you need to really say I can do the type of work you are going to need, and they necessarily won't need any caricatures in the strict sense. So
Yeah.
if you want to do a portfolio, you can use your style, your color sensibility, you can use everything you have, but you need to look and tailor make it to what they will need, because you need to be very, very clear and tell them this is the type of product I'm selling and this is the type of product you need. As you can see, we fit together. Well, even if I really like your caricature, I'm not quite sure how to use that in my project. So
Hmm.
just making sure your product is exactly fitting to the type of work you want to get.
One
An
of the things,
example would be environments, maybe just a sort of an interior design with some lots of clever ideas on a sort of an outline you would make up yourself or just get from somebody or just take inspiration from, or I was just saying it has to look like a production art portfolio rather than a display of your artistic skill sets.
uh-huh, I see. Um, Another thing that I wanted to
So
mention. Oh, sorry.
it's good to say I can draw.
So I did have another question, or just I wanted to say about what you did with your studio Alpine. Because for me, like I have a lot of experience with entrepreneurship and just business, like doing my own business. Um,
Hmm.
so one of the things that was so attractive to me about what you guys were doing there was that you were, first off, you were a team. I prefer to work with people, and
Yeah.
also you were bringing artists in to do specific projects. Um, so that ultimately would be something that I would like to do. I love the idea of taking a concept, whether it be advertisement or any other kind of concept, and animating that or turning that into making that visual. Um, so I don't know. I guess the question would be is like, would it be better to join a studio first and try to understand the process through the eyes of working in a studio, or is it possible for me to jump right into something right away if I team up with someone who has experience with animation?
I guess it really depends on that person, I would say. If it, um, that is again, there's probably no right answer here. If it wouldn't hurt to get a little time to sort of join a team, understand so the pipeline, and just being able to focus and do excellent work on a specific thing without being having to overlook the whole thing just right away. Um, so it would definitely not hurt to get your feet wet within a team that already is on his way and you just fit in with your part. On the other hand, if you team up with somebody who has that experience and you have a good chemistry and relationship, then you can make your stuff too. I guess it depends what kind of project you want to tackle, or yeah, I don't think there's a right answer. In hindsight, it's for me, it wouldn't have hurt to have joined the team. A couple of things, not to do all the mistakes by myself.
Yeah.
As I'm still having to learn, like this experience here, like it taught me things that I should have learned many years ago.
Yeah. So with the thing about studios, I guess kind of what I gathered from what you answered about like where I might go or where an artist might go that has a very specific portfolio that is not, for example, like I've focused only on caricatures for 6 years basically,
Right.
is to like, that's the first step, right? Like I need to find where I want to go in the industry, more or less, like let's say concept design or storyboarding or something. And then just maybe find studios that I like, that I really enjoy their work, and then build a portfolio like sort of catered to what they want or what they do, right?
Yeah, definitely. And nowadays, I recommend everyone to just to go into a little bit of 3D, because being an illustrator or any artist benefiting from a capability to work in a 3D environment and get the benefit and technical flexibility from there can only help. And given tools like Blender are free, there's no good reason not to do it. So I encourage you definitely to pick up Blender as to have that possibility to make more complex environments, to sort of try out light situations. That it's such a good tool for just making better, more elaborate art. And it's not tedious at all. Like I'm having a great time with it. You can even work very artistically as well.
So what do you do for Blender? Like what, you said it's free, but then you can go to, do you have any recommendations for like tutorials, or do they?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There are a ton out there. Like it's probably the most tutorial ever, or from all the software probably you find for Blender.
So they provide their own tutorials.
No, well, there may be some, but the most part is really just people just explaining whatever you want. Like I recently had to do like a staircase, sort of a twisting staircase, and I didn't exactly know how to do it. Just type it on Blender staircase, and there you go. That was exactly the thing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good advice. Yeah, I started taking ZBrush actually, um, and so I learned a little bit about that. But my free trial on that's about to run out, so maybe I should try some Blender. And
Yeah, Blender can sculpt. Blender can video edit. Like there's really no good reason not to do it. You can draw. You can 2D animate. So if you have time on your hand to learn Blender, it's probably the best advice I can give you. And I'm doing the same. Like I'm still in the midst of figuring it out, but it has only helped me a ton.
what about you were doing some VR stuff that I was really impressed with, especially with how quickly you were able to build a 3D environment inside there. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, sure. But, I use a software called either both Quill or Gravity Sketch for just mock-upping scenes as well. It's a little bit an extension what Blender would do. It's just a little more intuitive, but you obviously can't work with VR for too long of a stretch. So it's an addition. It's great. It's definitely worth checking out.
Do they have a new version of it? Because I remember they were coming out, last time I checked, they were coming out with one that did not require the orientation towers.
Yes, yeah. I use the Oculus Rift S, which has no sensors. They're just for cameras, which makes it a little more convenient to work with. And then additionally, there's the Quest, where you don't even you technically unplug it and wander around and work with it. I mean, obviously, if you need some calculation power, you need to have a plug into your machine. But
Yeah.
to view stuff or just play around, you can have it without any, like, wireless.
So I this conversation sort of went into what I wanted to cover anyway, but just to kind of like summarize tools, because that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about was the tools that you use and kind of how you use them. Like, are you starting off in Procreate or Photoshop and then you move into another program, or do you just jump right in, or is it project dependent, or?
It's, I don't know. It ends up being Photoshop most of the times, but I really never care much about the tool as long as it just gets me where I want it to be. I think Photoshop still is for me the most flexible and controllable painting tool, if it or like. But then I would use Procreate, but Procreate for me is mostly like a personal sketching on the go kind of thing. Photoshop is sort of the working software I go into where I have full control and sort of experience, and my hotkeys work the way I get everything I need from there. I don't particularly like my Cintiq for a reason, so I might like it more just from an ergonomic standpoint to draw on the iPad. But yeah, it's either I start maybe with an idea in VR, an idea on Photoshop, and then bring that into VR, or just block some stuff in Blender and then screen grab it, paint over it. Like it's a constantly back and forth just to bridge those gaps of if I need perspective, I might just block it out in 2D first. If I need a very gestural drawing, I might not do 3D first, or maybe I just if it's always tailor made to what it needs to be.
Okay. So I guess,
So Blender and Photoshop are the most.
yeah, for me, I guess it feels like again, it's one of those things where like there's so many programs, it's like a little bit intimidating. But I mean, right now with Procreate, I'm still learning. I've been using it for like 2.5 years now, and I'm still learning stuff. Um, but yeah, that's good that you're able to like move those things around in with different tools and do different things with different tools. Um, but yeah, I really like the VR experience. I've always been a sculptor actually, and I got away from sculpting because when I moved to Prague, it was too heavy and too expensive. I didn't have space for it. But yeah, with the VR animation or the VR animation with sculpture and like all of the extra things that you can do with it, that's pretty promising for someone like me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like it's such a joy to just masses move masses with your hands, and yeah, if you're able to get a hold of you, I only recommend it for sure.
It's not quite as powerful though as like ZBrush or Blender, right? I mean, they haven't got it to that level yet.
But that's a good thing because you don't want in VR if it stuff gets too technical and too many things to take care of and too many sliders, it will really hinder the benefit of the VR, which is sort of the very immediate gestural work. So it would be even counterproductive to make those softwares too sophisticated because you can always then refine it in ZBrush later. You can always take it further or light it later in Blender. But it's about sort of the sparkle, your creative or artistic. To get inspired, but just having the stuff in front of you and turning it around and just feel it more real than it would be on a TV screen.
Hmm. So I guess one thing that I wanted to bring up was about your habits and things that keep you sharp. One of the things that we both do actually is we do like a drawing a day kind of thing, and you do that a lot with the mountains and the Google Earth sketch. It looked like you started doing that again. So aside from just like daily painting, like what are the habits that keep you sharp and keep you going.
Yeah, that's a super interesting topic. I have been discovering more and more for me, like what does it mean to have good habits, and how I able to keep them up, especially if it comes to sort of improvement or just getting myself right on track with the right habits for that can support my career. And in fact, what I came across is mostly that you need, and that's probably a part where social media comes into as well. You need to make yourself, which just create an environment that makes it not only attractive to do that, so you don't have to just muster your willpower every time. It needs to be so attractive that that you will do it automatically, and that comes to play. Like if I like to post it, I like to sort of post on social media. Fine, like there's nothing wrong with it, with wanting to post stuff. So that will make you do stuff and want to make you to get better because you wanted to get more likes. As stupid as that can be, if you can make it as attractive as possible, the better. And also it has to be convenient and easy. If it's hard, if you just I want to study every day muscle strength from my anatomy, that's not a very easy task. It might be necessary, but try to make it as easy on you as possible. That's why just open up Google Street View, find a place you're gonna rest your eyes on, and try to learn your design shape language light lessons from there, because it's so convenient. There's no friction really.
From where?
Right. From just opening up Map Crunch or Google Street View, and there are figures there too, and there are landscape you would never be in. It's such an easy and frictionless habit to just go in and do that. It's that it's if it was connected with, oh, I need to mix my paints, I need to smell the odor of turpentine, that would just hinder me, and I will not do it. If it's not easy to do, I will not do it. So I'm going out of my way to try to make it as convenient for me, so I don't have to have a strong willpower to power through every day. I need to be able to do that without any adversity from whatever.
So what ways do you do that? I mean, do you have is your studio space really comfortable and clean, and you have like a cup of tea, or is it about like visual cleanliness, or is it like, are you physically comfortable in your chair, or is it just about like what way?
Yeah, but yes, sure. I mean that could play a part, but I was more talking about if you were to say I want to get better at landscape painting, and then I say, yeah, cool. Then you go outside with your easel and your paints, and then you do the study, and then you come back, and then you like just dry, and said you might do it twice, and then said maybe in your case not, but because you're sort of an outdoor draftsman anyways. But for me, I gotta do it twice and say no. But if the same thing applies to you, just stay on where you are. You have your iPad, it's on your desk, on your couch, and you just open a tab on your browser, and there you go. And then it's all about just like there's no hassle involved.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so. And there's really no excuse not to do it. It's the same thing with the gym. If the gym, and people don't do it in any case, but if it's
Yeah.
not on your side of in your own street, you're not gonna do it. If it's on the other side of the town, there's no way you can do it. Some people don't even do it if it's inside the building. But that to say, make it as easy as possible to be able to comply to your ambition to do that habit.
So what about your like, do you have any experience with taking classes or tutorials? And I bring that up because, like I said, I have a lot of time now, so I'm signed up for a social media marketing class, I'm signed up for a ZBrush class, I'm signed up for animation class, and so I feel like a little scattered, but I'm so
Hmm.
interested. I want to learn all of those things so much that I'm just taking all of those classes at once. And
Yeah.
it's hard for me to cut back and just stay focused on, say, like just two things. Like, okay, now I'm going to learn to be better with Procreate and landscape painting, and that's it. Like,
Mm.
how do you pick up new information and learn, and how do you kind of like keep yourself from getting too distracted by too many different things that you're interested
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I work better if it's a little bit focused. I think if because animation. I mean, there is always a common thread. Like it's always the rules of sort of there are very common rules that apply to animation as for sculpting and for any other thing. But you, especially if you take a course, you want to be able to obsess on that particular thing for an amount of time. And then you will be able to just bring all that sort of that knowledge into the next obsession too. Because if you do maybe it's just for a couple of months, you just try to get a grasp what's the rules of true landscape painting. That those rules are composition and rhythm and sort of balance. You would bring it into the animation class too. You would bring that in the sculpture test. You just have that ready to then obsess on that as well. So that's how I would do it.
That's a really good point. So that's how you've kind of done it with your learning.
I think so too. I think so because I wouldn't, I probably wouldn't be able to get, yeah, to really understand what I'm actually getting out of this. When I was doing a gesture class, I just wanted to think about that. And then sort of the rules of pose and action, whatever, that can translate to your environments. If you want to make something really dynamic, you will know that the line of action is found everywhere.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good take on that because I need to focus, I think, on environments and interior designs and landscapes and kind of concept design if that's what I want to get into. So,
Yeah, and also just ask yourself what is important to you, like what carries your passion, not just from a technical point of view, like I like painting, like what subject matter is really driving you. Because if you understand that, you will be able to have a framework that you will be able to invest a lot of time and effort in because it's not something imposed, but it really belongs to you. That's how I do. I ask myself like, how do I feel? What I want to. What's me right now?
yeah. Yeah. I noticed that in your work, you have a lot of mountain stuff and skiing stuff, and
Yes.
that's clearly what you're into.
Yeah,
Um,
and it goes to the same thing. Like make it easy. If I want to practice color moods, I don't want to make up a completely alien subject matter I have to think about. I want to make it easy on me and just think about that mood and just slap in a mountain. That's fine. I don't.
yeah. So I guess the last question that I have, really like on my question agenda anyway, is like, what in what ways is community important for your artistic journey? You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I'm just interested in how networking and how community is advancing your career and advancing your connections and your knowledge.
It's pretty important because this animation or many art forms, if they're not, are a team effort, and so you will need a good team, and they will need a team, and it's all about sharing and not doing the mistakes, all of them yourself. So sharing and learning from others is so if people want to do the work for you, looking up for stuff, you should be able to take advantage of that. That's where I'm really happy, even just using Facebook, because I have a couple of friends who just find cool stuff. I don't want to spend the time looking myself. So I just follow them and look what they do.
Yeah.
And that's more than welcome. I learned about so many things I wouldn't have found myself.
Yeah.
Because, we all have just limited time.
What about I asked you earlier, you mentioned looking in, and I've talked to other artists, and they all also mentioned like looking into competitions and guilds and things like that. One of the most important things for my caricature career was joining the International Society of Caricature Artists, but I haven't really entered many competitions outside of that. But I guess I wanted to dive a little deeper into that question, or more specifically of the things that you do to get more networked and more connected. Like, do you join competitions, or are you a part of different societies, or how does that work for you?
I'm not, I have to be honest, I'm not doing a lot of competitions. I could, technically, I never found the time, or just I wanted, I don't know, it hasn't happened yet so far. What I do is there's a group called the Virtual Plein Air group on Facebook, where you just post where you have been and your interpretation, and you look at what others did, and it's not always interesting, but yeah.
Okay.
That's and then just finding places where you can see what other people do and solutions they find and styles they do, and what part you can incorporate in yours.
So do you want to mention anything about Netflix? You got congratulations on that, by the way. How long have you been working for them?
It's now almost a year and a half. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the same thing. You get to learn, get to, like, I attend quite some, like, every year, maybe one or two conferences around the world where you meet those people, you meet those people you may end up working with, and they so it's really about getting a face to a name and just having a good time as people, not just being that person that just approaches people for work, of course. But
yeah,
Netflix is great. Like, they have so many shows, and their animation production is really advancing very well lately. So there's lots going on for sure.
So what are you like? What is a co-production designer doing? Are you doing that with sketches and concept art? Are you doing that with like physical? Are you helping the buyers and you're helping design the sets, or how does that work?
Well, it's the names and descriptions always vary, but it's my responsibility is just to create the look of a story, to provide a visual interpretation or a visual language to the story the director wants to tell. And that implies working with a lot of artists, doing some art yourself, but you wouldn't end up making all the art yourself, but you're working, best case scenario, with very, 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 very good characters to be able to do yourself. There's many ways people do it. I like to be quite hands-on, because I believe, especially in the beginning, it needs to be you carrying that vision and creating those precedences. But yeah, maybe there's other ways to do it.
So do they have you working on one show at a time, or do you have multiple projects?
No,
Okay.
one show.
Which ones have you worked on? Can you talk about it?
Well, I can. I've been working for a year on Mark Osborne's Escape from Hat, which is a feature film based on a book, with Mark Osborne being the director of Kung Fu Panda 1 and The Little Prince, which is quite a nice and movies I liked, and he's a terrific guy, and I'm trying my best to help him slowly creating that style he wanted. And but recently, because the story is being partially rewritten, I've been working with Alex Hirsch, which is the director of Gravity Falls. If you know that, it was just to and his art director Ian Worrell, to pitch in a little bit of that on that show as well, which is gonna be a series on Netflix.
Can you say the name of the first or the show that you're working on now? You said Escape from what?
Escape from Hat.
Hat.
Yeah.
Like a hat.
Like a top hat.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. Just Escape from Hat.
And you said Alex Hirsch. You said that you're helping him develop something for what show?
I just joined his dev team for I think for a couple of weeks while my show has been it's a little bit of a design pause because of writing the script being revised. It's Gravity Falls, Alex Hirsch, and I'm working closely with Ian Worrell, which is the current art director of that show.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that show. There's so much content out there now. It's like I don't have time to even like scan over it.
Oh yeah, well, it's Gravity Falls is known, but it's not that recent. It was always on Disney. It's a Disney production. Yeah, there's so much content. I agree. There is tons.
So are you? These are animation projects, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
Definitely.
Well, it's been almost an hour. I'm sorry for the cutting in and out. We missed a few sentences there, but I think it was still pretty good. I definitely appreciate your time, and I appreciate your advice and everything. It's nice to be able to get to know you a little bit better and talk to you more about your approach to being a creative person.
Sure. Yeah. No, don't worry about it. I would try to find artists, or maybe even like I can try to find something just to put example portfolios what a visual developer has, and then just
awesome.
Look that's something I like to do, and how could I do that? Because I mean technically, sure, just dialing in a little bit stronger into understanding maybe light just a little bit more, and like we all have to learn forever, but you have a good base to at least start tackling the thing for sure. Like you're in a good spot.
Thank you. Yeah, I would really appreciate that. If you had a couple of recommendations, I'd love to look at their portfolios. I'm also on ArtStation, so
Yeah.
if the guys or girls that you're recommending are on ArtStation, you could even just send me a link like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find. Let me. I think I can link you right away. And those are not professionals, mind you, but I will post it into Skype after.
Oh, okay.
They're not professionals, but I think they're good enough, and their portfolio is clear, at least from a structure point of view, with all those lineups, with those set dressings, and so on and so forth. So it's probably a good place to start, and then you can go from there.
Okay. Do you, I guess I'll look, does the chat keep going in the conversation? Like if we hang up, does the chat keep going or?
I would think so. Otherwise, I can just find the name and message you on that. No problem.
Maybe better on Facebook because that's
okay.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, is there anything that you want to, like, last minute thing you want to say, or is there anything that you want to plug?
Well, I think we it's probably the only thing I would say is it never ends up being easy, because it's like creating satisfying imagery is will always stay hard, and it has always been. But the red thread for me is always what do I want to sort of put my time on that sort of represents me in that particular time. Like I want my art to be almost like a journal of how I went through life, and that can be expressed in technical improvement, or just in subject matter, or just in emotional sort of mood. It's that's the most honest way I can go about it, and on the long run be happy with, because no matter what, it was a statement of that time, and it has the place to stay.
That's
And yeah,
a
I'm on Instagram. My name, I think, is it's easy to find, and that's where I post most of my things. It's mostly just stuff I do to ease my soul, even though even sometimes I would put out something I would do professionally or sort of project based as well.
that's very well put. I want my art to reflect how I went through life. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, well, why are you doing it for? Like it's uh, in the end, it's just something that keeps us curious. And in hindsight, you want not just to see images that has nothing, no relation to, but says, oh yeah, this was a hard time. This is a good time. This was
Yeah.
that's all it is. Like there's no more we can do with it. Make statements about bigger or smaller. They can be. I don't have the ambition to always make sort of the general statements of the world and society. It can be also a very tiny thing, because people can find themselves in it as well.
Yeah. So I'll put for everyone listening, I'll put all of the notes from the interview and contacts for your Instagram and all of your stuff in the comments. Um, so yeah, check that out. And otherwise, yeah, man, like I said, I really appreciate your time. I don't want to take up any more of it. We're right at about an hour, so yeah,
Great.
I hope to talk to you at some point in the future. And thank you for
Sure.
sending those links for sure. I'll definitely have a look at that stuff.
Yeah,
And
you should.
yeah, and if you can think
No,
of
no
anyone,
worries.
if you can think of anyone that you want to recommend for future podcasts or future interviews, that'd be great too. If anyone's interested.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The world is full of interesting people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, Lip, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. And
Okay.
congratulations on getting that job at Netflix. And I can't wait to see the stuff that you do.
Okay. Yeah. Likewise. I want to
Okay,
see
happy
what
Sauna.
it does. Yeah. Cheerio. All right.
Okay, cheers.
Bye bye.